A journey that should have happened a long time ago, but was stopped by incompetent leadership in the House of Representatives and incompetent chairman in the House of Representatives. I'm going to say some things today. That will not sit well with a lot of people on Capitol Hill, particularly Republicans. But let me just say this from the outset. I'm a Republican, and I don't like the way we've performed as Republicans in the House of Representatives on Benghazi. You know, the Three Stooges, Moe, Larry, and Curly, those are the three chairmen on Capitol Hill on the House side. And what they did is an abomination. For two chairmen, it was incompetence. That would be the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Armed Services Committee. One committee, the Intelligence Committee, was venal. The chairman of that committee, Mike Rogers, actually subverted the investigation into Benghazi. And that's why he's not coming back to Congress. That's why he retired. That's why, out of the blue, when no one saw it coming, Mike Rogers decided he wasn't going to seek another term. The reason was very simple. He had a revolt on his committee. Mike Rogers and his senior staff, one of whom is Mike Allen, who is now working with the Clinton Consulting Group in New York City. Mike Allen and his staff performed miserably in trying to find out what happened. Let me give you one example, and it's the only one you'll need to hear about his committee. After a year and a half of investigation, many key people had not been called by the House Intelligence Committee and Chairman Mike Rogers. But you know the one they didn't call until the very last minute when things really got hot? The chief of station. The chief of station was the last witness that Mike Rogers called. You know what? I've worked on the Hill for a long, long time. I've conducted criminal investigations as a U.S. attorney. I've conducted investigations for the House and Senate. You know who the first person you call is if you're investigating Benghazi? The chief of station. Now, why did Mike Rogers not want to call the chief of station? Because he was the man who knew too much. There's a real simple story about why this investigation has taken so long, why it has been incompetently handled, and why it has, to the Democrats' advantage, delayed the day of reckoning and made people tired of hearing the story. It's because three chairmen, the House Armed Services Committee chairman, the House Foreign Affairs Committee chairman, and the House Intelligence Committee chairman were more interested in turf and TV than they were in getting at the truth. And if everybody had listened to Frank Wolf from the very beginning and done a select committee, we would be way, way, way far along in knowing the truth. And the Democrats were expert at delay, dilatory tactics, and preventing the truth from coming out. And our three chairmen were complicit with them because they worried about turf, they worried about their client agencies, and they worried about getting credit. That's not what this is about. There are 4 dead Americans, many wounded, psychologically, physically injured people who deserve to have the truth come out. And it will now. I have utmost confidence in Trey Gowdy and Jim Jordan and the people on that committee. But make no mistake about it. We cannot avert our eyes from what has happened here over the last year and a half. We have been denied the ability to honestly get to stuff. And we have allowed the enemies of this investigation to help subvert it by the complicity of these 3 chairmen. Now, the one thing I'll have to say to this is, let's just see some of the things you don't know because of how incompetently this investigation was handled. Where are the presidential daily briefings, which are the first thing you ask for when you're in an investigation like this? Where was the president hour by hour by hour every night during that night? Does anybody know? Of course you don't know. Because these guys couldn't figure out how to find the bathroom, let alone find out how to get a presidential daily briefing on the President of the United States. The history here is a sad one. Where was Secretary Clinton hour by hour? If you read her book, you won't find out. You won't find out. Where was she hour by hour? We do know, by the way, General, about the fest. I represented the man who runs the fest at the Department of State during the hearings, and you know what? The first thing that happened after the live intelligence came that there had been an attack was he did what he always does. He called the Secretary's office and the Deputy's office and said, when is the fest going to meet? And you know what he was told? There's been a deputies meeting at the White House, and the fest is not going to be deployed. For the first time in history, in an incident involving an embassy after the creation of the fest was not deployed. And when he tried to find out why, he was denied access to meetings. He wasn't given answers. That story was not properly told by the three committees on the Hill. The bottom line is this. We've got a lot of work to do. People out there listening to this and watching online, stay tuned, get engaged, get involved. Let the members on this select committee know that you care. There's a story to be told here that must be told. There is also a president who needs to be held accountable. A president who has become the president that Richard Nixon always wanted to be. He has become a man drunk with power, abusive of the Constitution, and lawless, assisted in that effort by the Attorney General and a Secretary of State. And also by a CIA which cared more about protecting the president than protecting former CIA employees and current CIA employees under duress on the ground in Benghazi.
Thank you, Joe.